Welcome back, devoted podcast listeners, to the Self-Love Fitness Project podcast, where we are redefining what it means to be fit mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and of course physically as well. Today's guest, Robert Young, is a longevity expert and historian, and he has a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so blessed to be able to share this conversation with you today. He has even worked with the Guinness World Record books to figure out, what does it take to live a long time? And, although we may have to live within our genetic potential, there are things we can do to lengthen our life, and we're going to go over them today with Robert. Thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado, let's dive into this man's world. All right, now we're live. Now we're rolling. So I'm going to start again with my date, because I really wanted to do this with you. Everyone who can't see and is on audio right now, I have a date in my hand. I'm taking one bite of it. I'm going to take more bites. I'm going to finish this date. I wanted to ask Robert about food really on this podcast, because I know food is a major factor in how long we live, and I want to dive deep into that topic. But let's start off, Robert. You've already been introduced. They know who you are. They know what you're about. So let's start off with the date. Specifically, this is kind of a question that you weren't prepared for, but like, tell me about fruit. Tell me about dates. Is this going to help me live longer?
Okay, so the first thing that I think we need to understand is that we need to get rid of this concept of living longer, and we need to refocus on this idea of we have a biological lifespan potential already in our genetic profile. And so we really need to think about this as achieving what is possible. So it's really not so much about living longer, it's about fulfilling our potential that already exists. When it comes to dates, I think the answer is a very good option. Yes, because number one, it's natural. Number two, it's plant-based, and it's something that humans have been eating for thousands of years. So the human system is quite used to it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. But made me feel good about eating like 6 of them here. So, fantastic.
I mean, there is a drawback though, is you can overdose. You can overdose on anything. All right.
Right. No, I was
too much water and you drown. All right. Everybody needs water. Everybody has to have water, but too much water and you drown. So we really need to shift this idea of bad and good more towards the idea of finding a balance in the proper balance of things. And yes, there are some substances out there that are bad and there's some good, but you can even take something that's good and in the wrong proportion, it can become not good for you. So
okay, that's good. That's interesting. Changing the bad and the good, which, by the way, I'm very familiar with in my own life. And anyone who's been strict with the diet, like I know some of our audience is very like, this food sucks, this food is bad, I cannot eat this food. This food is good, whether it's lettuce, broccoli, whatever fad article they just read. I've read a million of them. And they label foods bad and good. And then when they eat the foods that they really like, but their mind thinks is bad, it's like, oh, well, then I'm bad. Or they feel guilty about it or whatever it is. And that doesn't, first of all, seem sustainable. Second of all, that just sucks to like feel guilty about eating food that you enjoy that isn't necessarily bad for you. So it's going to parlay into our next question here. You have something to say?
Yeah. So one of the things is I wanted to mention as an example, eggs. Back in the 1980s, eggs were stereotyped as bad for you, and you can't eat more than 3 a day and all this stuff, and because it had high cholesterol. And then after years and years of studies, they found out that they were actually mistaking correlation for causation, and that egg cholesterol was different from other kinds of cholesterol. And it turns out that not only were eggs good for you, but that the yolk was the healthiest part of the egg. So this whole idea of eating egg whites only turned out to be not such a good idea. I'm going to say there are some things that are definitely bad. I think we all know ricin is bad. Okay. And yes, we do. Let me say this: we do want to stay away from artificial substances as much as we can, because a lot of the artificial substances have been made in a lab, this product tested over maybe 10, 15 years or less, whereas the natural substances have been evolutionarily tested over thousands or even millions of years of product testing. Right. So let me ask you this: which do you think is safer, something that the humans have been eating, for 4,000 years, or something that they've been eating for 10, 15 years.
4,000 years, baby.
Exactly. Okay. Even something like milk. For example, milk used to be bad for people, and then they had a genetic change in people's genetics, and then they became able to tolerate milk for many people. Now, there's still some people out there that are lactose intolerant, but for the mass majority of people, they can now enjoy milk. So that's just one example of how the biology can change over time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So like, see, that's interesting. That in the 1980s, eggs were deemed as an unhealthy food, but now they're deemed as a health food. So should we what should we do? Should we trust whatever science is coming out today? Should we look at what we've been eating for thousands of years? Like, how should we judge it? Because as we speak, someone probably just wrote a new article about what a food that's good now, or is now unhealthy for this reason. What do we believe? Number one, where do we go for quality information that we can trust? Question number one. Question two, do we trust information?
Wait. One question at a time, please.
Okay, so I'll start then with that question. Where do we go for quality information to actually know what to eat? Or should we test on do a blood test, a stool test, and figure out what works specifically for us?
The first thing to understand is that everybody's biological profile is different, and you have to figure out what is right for you. We've had some people that said that we're going to go all vegan, and we've had some people that tried all vegan and they ended up dying because their body just couldn't tolerate that switch. So we have some people that eat peanut butter and it's great. We have some people that eat peanut butter and then they have an allergic reaction to it and they die. So I think that the thing is, when it comes to health, there are a huge amount of variables involved, and it's really more a matter of we're going to have to figure out a way to think for ourselves, to evaluate what is put out there from a logical standpoint, but also what works for us. And Occam's razor, simplest explanation is usually correct. So I think that if somebody does want to, go to, for example, the Gerontology Research Group website, which I'm associated with as the director of the Gerontology Research Group Supercentenarian Research and Database Division, one of the things we're doing is we're studying supercentenarians, people age over 110, because the idea is if you're over 110, you really figured out how to live your life a way that really exceeded almost everybody else. So I think that, going to the experts, those people that succeeded in living the longest is a good start in my view.
Yeah, it makes sense to me too. So let's go there. What are these people that are 110? What are the common themes? What are they doing to get to that age?
Yeah, there's about 7 to 10 items that really are commonalities with people that live the very longest. One of the first things is that they tend to maintain a healthy body weight. Being obese, especially for males, is not good. But the female body can store a little bit of fat, and the pear-shaped structure of the female body is a little bit different. But the bottom line is one of the first things I would tell anyone that wants to live 210 plus is that you need to maintain a healthy body weight. Another thing is that many of the people that live the longest are female. Sorry, guys, about 90.
Come on, don't tell me that, Robert. Just kidding.
Biologically speaking, women age 3% slower than men, and they have the double X chromosome. And men only have the X and the XY, and the Y is much smaller. And the double X hypothesis shows that when the female chromosomes, that if there's a mistake on the first X, then the second X can activate a backup copy. So women have a backup copy of every every gene, and men don't. And that's one reason, for example, why men tend to be colorblind more often than women are. So the thing though is, if you're born male, you're male, and you can't really change your profile in that sense in terms of the genetic potential. So remember though, it's only 3% difference. So if, for example, a 113-year-old woman is like a 110-year-old man, so you still, as a male, you can still expect that you have a chance to live to be 110 plus if you live a good life. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Another thing is, I'm going to say this: a lot of the people that live the very longest tend to be active walkers. They tend to be actively engaged in something to do. They tend to maintain a regular sleep and wake cycle. They tend to sleep a lot. They tend to get up the same time every day and go to bed the same time every day with a schedule. That one of the things that we really need to do to focus to, live the best life that we can live is to understand that the human body operates as a system that operates most efficiently when we operate according to the cycles that nature has devised for us. And for example, we have the 24-hour circadian rhythm clock that people's body temperature tends to be lowest about 7:30 a.m. and the highest about 3:30 in the afternoon. So even there, you can see that it's probably best to for most people to sleep, maybe 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then get up, around in the morning, and then, get your day going that way. And of course, there's some people that exceptionally have to work at night, and that's different. But we understand, though, is, even the death rates are higher at 3 a.m. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that the human body operates most efficiently after it has a chance to warm up, and you reach your peak usually in the early afternoon, peak efficiency operating. Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah. All right. And you said there were 7 to 10 items that people can focus on to live longer. Would you mind sharing a few others? I really want to bring value to someone that is like wondering like crap, like I feel like I'm not healthy right now. What can I do now to set myself up for the long term? And then the nice thing about what you're saying is like just going for walks every day. That's a really easy step. So it's
Well,
easy.
this is one of the things. A lot of people that focus too much on fad diets or marketing tricks they may see on TV or now
Right.
online. But if you use your brain and you start at the most basic things, we already mentioned a few. Is number one is maintain a healthy body weight. Number two, be a woman if you can. If you can't, just forget about that one. Number three, you need to get a lot of sleep. The human body shows that when you are asleep, the glycemic system operates 11 times more effectively than when you are awake. So one of the things to consider is that when you are asleep, your body is doing many things that it doesn't do during the day. During the daytime, there's three things that really take up a lot of energy. That's your eyes, your digestive system, and your brain. And because that takes up so much energy, a lot of the functions of the human cells are not operating. For example, taking out the trash at the cellular level. So when you're asleep, your eyes close, your brain is basically is shutting down like a computer shutting down, and your food is hopefully you don't eat right before you go to bed, because when you're asleep, what your body is trying to do is it's trying to go through a process. It takes up a lot of the stuff that happened during the day. If you stressed your muscles and you worked out, your body might be trying to activate to repair some of the micro tears that you did. Your brain may be trying to process the memories or throw away the stuff that it doesn't need to think about. And everything that operates is even on a cellular level, you can actually lose weight by getting a good night's sleep. And when you don't get a good night's sleep, you actually get inflammation and you actually gain weight from not getting a good night's sleep. And a study showed that people that slept only 5 hours a night had a 30% higher mortality than people that slept 7 or more hours.
Wow.
So that is a huge differential. So when people think that, oh, this is just no big deal, you know what? Our system is designed, unfortunately, the economic system is designed where people are commodity and people are forced to push themselves beyond their natural biological limit. And I think that a lot of people are beginning to say, well, wait a minute, we need to make sure that we're not having to force people to work 80 hours a week. Our body really isn't made for that. It's not sustainable, and you're not going to reach your maximum potential. Because when I see these people like Emma Morano of Italy, the 117, and she's like, I'm sleeping 10 or 11 hours. Okay. It seems like one of the reasons they live so long is because they recharge their system. And we need to understand that we need to be able to recharge our system. And that's one of the main things that I think that we don't understand that. That said, if you sleep all day and you get up and you don't do anything, that's not good either. Because when you do get up, you need to get up and get going and be active. And studies show that people that walk fast live longer than people that walk slow. So it's not simply being active. You need to be active to a point where you're putting a little bit of stress on your system, a little bit of get up and go. Get some stuff going. Just don't get out there and just even jogging slowly is really not enough. Okay, you need to do something fast. Get something going. Okay, get circulation going. You want to get some stuff going. Okay, you want to put some stress on your system. And another thing, stress is another key. Too much stress is bad. Not enough stress is bad. So they actually have this word eustress. Eustress is kind of the balance between too much stress and not enough stress. And so, to me, it's like a car. If you don't run your car and it sits in the car lot for a year and then you try to start it, it doesn't work very well.
Right.
And our body needs to operate according to keep it functional and keep it maintained. And our human body is like that. But if we push it too hard, then we also stressing ourselves out. And people can lose their hair. Look at this. Okay.
Yeah. You've been stressed, haven't you, Robert?
You know what? If I had to live my life over again, I would have taken it a little bit easier. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to, do some of these chats with some of the younger people, because when I was growing up, there were some people to tell us this stuff. We were told to, work hard and forget about your health and just, do what you're told. And, times are beginning to change, where people saying, well, wait a minute, we have rights as human beings to live our life in a way that's going to be compatible with our bodies being healthy. And I think that, one of the other things we need to really push away from is processed junk food that comes out in factories. And I'm not going to name any names, but recently we had somebody buy some chicken nuggets at a fast food restaurant and try to give it to a dog, and the dog went and eat it. And I'm like, okay, this processed stuff was not good enough for the dog to eat. Why are people eating this?
The garbage. It's like I've heard like there isn't food and there isn't junk food. There's just junk. Like it's not actual food. If you don't mind, and first of all, like I don't want to get into talking about the advertising for all of this junk food either, how it's constantly bombarding us, driving down the street when we're on our phones, all this stuff. So we're getting programmed to eat this stuff. But I want to go back a little bit to specifically about rest and recovery. And I've been kind of getting acquainted with this idea of having fast, intense bursts of effort.
Yes.
And then having active recovery and then falling into sleep, like having a nice, like intense burst of energy, whether it's intellectual output, whether it's or creative output or intellectual input, or whether it's just straight up like work, like productivity, like I'm creating something, having an intense output and then doing something restorative after, like say yoga or like going for a walk or, like relaxing. And like, so like, what is this balance we can strike? Like, is there a certain amount of time we can go, all out for before we have to stop? And like, what are the best practices to recover while we're awake, like active recovery?
Well, one of the things is, first of all, is, in some countries such as Spain, they have this divide the day in two thing where they're active in the morning and then they have like an afternoon siesta and then they're active again later. That seems to be a strategy that works well. Give people a chance to recover from the early morning activity and then go on a second wind. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of this stuff actually comes from physics. This is not mystical stuff. Physics. When the ocean waves hit the shore, they don't hit the shore flat. They hit in waves. Okay? The entire physics of operating particles operates according to waves. So we need to live our life more in tune with this concept of a wave pattern. And that's why when I'm saying the people that went to bed the same time every day and get up the same time every day, because they're basically getting in charge they're getting in sync with their circadian rhythms. Basically, the biorhythms are being set partly by, the spin of the earth in relation to the sun. We have this birds understand, bird migration, for example. Birds understand how to migrate, and humans have some of these type of abilities too, but because of our modern technology, we've forgotten that we have these abilities to basically, set our biological clocks. And I think that people are finally getting back to this idea that if we get more in tune with the way that our biology was constructed, that it's going to be more helpful for the operation of our system.
Okay. No, thank you for that. I want to take the time that we have left here. I want to switch over specifically to fitness and bodybuilding. It's a topic that me and you brought up kind of last minute before this call. And I want to dive into it specifically because self-love fitness, like this idea that was created, was kind of out of us seeing what the fitness industry was like and our personal experience in bodybuilding, where physical health was far more important than mental or emotional health. It was put on a pedestal, so to speak. And I want to know why bodybuilding actually isn't as healthy as people think, because I mean, I'm not sure where this idea came from. Maybe it was back in the Pumping Iron days with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when we would see him up on a big health, fitness, men's health magazine, these ginormous, like these ripped guys with the huge chests and the big boulders on their shoulders, huge triceps, biceps, ripped abs, the whole 9 yards. And we may have just associated that with, okay, that's what I need to be healthy. But you're saying that that's not what it takes. So I wouldn't mind diving into that conversation, like what we actually need to do to live longer, and like what are some of like the myths in the fitness industry.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say this is I don't like to tell people what to do. I do like to tell people the facts, and then they have to make their personal choices. But as I explained before, if you look, the very tallest tree is not the very largest tree. So, anytime we're trying to decide, for example, if we're going to try to set, Olympic record or a world record to be, the world's fastest swimmer or runner or weightlifter or whatever, we're going to have to go all out. But here's the thing, though, is some of the things out there, are better for the human body than others. And, running and swimming and bicycling seem to go align with living a long time. The problem with weightlifting is first of all, is that extra muscle puts extra strain on the human heart. And in fact, a lot of scientists believe that's one reason why women do tend to outlive men, because the average female body has a lot less mass. And in fact, studies show that short people tend to live longer than big people, tall people. And over a certain level, let me say 6'1" not too bad, but when you're starting to get around 6'5", 6'6", then the death rates really start to climb, because it really is a lot of extra effort for your heart to try to get all that blood all the way up there. And people need to understand, though, if you're going to be 250, 300 pounds, and even if that's muscle, that is a lot of extra work for your heart to do. And your heart never takes a day off. It never takes an hour off. It has to work 24 hours a day, it has to work all the time. And so what I'm saying is that we need to understand that when it comes to bodybuilding, that it's really more as an aesthetic pursuit, or it's a pursuit for competition, but it's really not the best health option. So, the best health option seems to be short distance running or swimming or bicycling. So I really think, though, let me say this, I think most men that lift a lot of weights really aren't going to say, I want to put down the barbell. So let me ask you this question. Would you rather live to 80 and be a weightlifter, or would you rather live to 95 and be a runner?
Live to 95 to be a runner. And that's tough for me, by the way. Like, I love pumping iron, baby. I love it.
So let me say this. I think one compromise is this idea of maybe you could go for like fitness modeling. Basically, instead of being Mr. Olympia or Mr. Universe, you could go for the aesthetic look where you're basically adding muscle, but you're not adding muscle to the point where it's really putting a lot of strain on your system. And let's be honest, a lot of the people in the bodybuilding industry are using substances, such
Right.
as steroids and a lot of other substances out there besides steroids that they're really not good for your health and really not good for living a long time. And if you're very rich like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can, oh, he had another heart surgery, and I'm glad he survived his yet another heart surgery. But I think it's becoming clear that all that improper usage of substances, has caused him some issues there. So the bottom line is we have to make a decision. Do we want to be the tallest tree? The tallest tree is an analogy to living the longest, such as the redwood tree in California, Hyperion, 380 feet tall. Or do we want to be the giant sequoia, which is the biggest tree? The giant sequoia, Journal Sherman in California, is by far bigger, but it's only 274 feet high. So these are facts for us to decide that our life path, whether we're going to be a bicyclist or a runner, or even just working in an office and just kind of recreationally weightlift. Basically, we already see from biology that all human fetuses in the womb start off as a female, okay? And the human fetus as a female is designed for endurance. That in order to get a male, the Y chromosome basically starts telling the fetus to start producing hormones, male hormones that will cause it to become a male. And as it becomes male, even in the womb, male fetuses have higher mortality than female fetuses, okay? So when you basically, you're making a trade-off where you're borrowing peak strength from future reserves. So the question is, do you want peak strength or do you want endurance? Or do you want to try to find a happy medium somewhere between those two? And this is really a question for everybody to decide for themselves. I'm not going to tell anyone that. So.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I think there's something to me that's really intuitive about balance, like not going all the way on bodybuilding, not going complete like marathon runner, like finding some healthy.
Well, that is another point. Even on running, the running for short distances seems to be good for you, but when the runners go beyond a certain point, marathon running especially, the mortality rates start to go up. So I think that you hit on a good point, that even if you are really ultra fit, ultra lean, but you're going to be pushing yourself to the point where you're running so long that the body gets beyond the point of being able to repair the damage you already did. And this actually gets back to the whole point of balancing the effort with a repair. Because basically, if you think about it like a zipper, if you unzip a zipper and you zip it back up, it's not that difficult. But suppose you unzip the zipper and then you ripped it apart. Now you can't zip it back up. And on a cellular level, our body operates the same way. So if we do a little bit of damage to our body, that when we're asleep, our body maintenance systems is able to repair that damage that's done when we're asleep. But if we damage the damage, then nothing is repairable. So if we don't give ourselves a chance to repair the damage already done, then the damage is not going to get repaired. And then what happens is then we get a buildup of damage over a long period of time. It becomes a bigger and bigger problem because the average human body estimated has 10 trillion cells. So you have a lot of chances to do some damage and get away with it for a period of time. And I'm not saying anybody should do that ever, but I am saying that if people can say that, well, I did all this stuff and I had no consequences. But if you keep on, like alcoholism, for example, over time, it just becomes more and more damaging. And there comes a point when people realize that, this is not the way. If they had listened earlier, though, it would have been better for them in the long run. So I really think that we need to find the proper balance. That it's good to lift weights. It's good to, have strength. But we don't want to push ourselves to the point where we're having to, use artificial substances and basically, pump ourselves up to, some people even injecting substances like synthol into their arms in order to make their arms look bigger. And that really becomes something that is really not good for you. It's kind of like going, for women, getting implants. It really is not good for you. So I think that getting back to the nature thing, one more thing I want to say this is they did a study of vitamins, and they had like one group eat like live food like green broccoli, and the other people took vitamins in pill form. And the study showed that the people that ate the fresh live food had better results than the people that took the pill form. And so I think that even when we're considering food, getting back to this idea that everything in our body is on a cellular level or even a subcellular level. And in order to operate effectively and operate on at its best, it's best to go natural, and it's best to operate under a system where we understand the balance needed in order to operate the system at maximum efficiency.
Okay, wonderful. So, okay, well, since we're kind of running low on time here, I want to ask you one last question. And just based off the feel I'm getting from you here and like kind of, seeing some nuances in how you communicate and who you are, this may not be your style of question, but I'm gonna challenge you to it. And the question has to be answered, if possible, in one sentence. And that's why I'm not sure if it's your style, because you have just given us so many facts and are pulling from so many different places to really explain the facts, explain your point of view. And so, anyways, but I'm gonna challenge you here. So, what is the best thing the average person can do to frame their approach to longevity?
I think that it starts with the mindset. They have to want to live a long time, and that's the first thing that they can do. And it's while the case is that if some people have an unfortunate genetic profile, there's really not much you can do after a certain point. But for the vast majority of the people, the average human body is designed to live at least 75 to 80 years, and some people have genetic potential to live 100 plus. And so the thing though is, if we have a body that's designed to live 100 plus, but we don't live our life the right way, then we start subtracting from our potential. So maybe we had a chance to live to 100, but we lose 15 years because we didn't do things right and we lived 85. Are you satisfied with that? Or maybe you really did bad and you subtract 20 years instead. So my question is, for everybody, they have to ask themselves, do they want to live a healthy life? And do they want to live a long, healthy life? Because these two go together. That living the longest really is, a result of living the life a healthy way and the right way.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Robert. I actually, you piqued my curiosity there. How old do you plan to live to?
Well, let me be totally honest. Is my genetic profile was not very good in terms of my family tree history. So I'm estimating that let me just say this: I would like to plan to live to 110, and if I don't, well, at least I made the best effort I could do. Okay.
Okay, I like it. Okay, and last question, because I swear to God, I could ask you questions like for days straight.
We can do another video, another day if you want to.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that. I do want to squeeze in this last question just for anyone who's like me and really wants to know the answer after what you just said. How do we look at our family tree and decipher how long we may live? Our genetic potential.
Well, you really need to get a website such as Ancestry.com or 23andMe or something like this. Yeah. And there's two things that you need. You need to build a family tree, and you need to get genetic testing after you get that family tree. Because, for example, suppose you had a history of heart disease in your family, and you need to find out, are you susceptible for that? But at the same time, perhaps you don't. Perhaps you come from a long-lived family. In that case, that's a good sign, though, that you have a good chance that if you live your life the right way, you're going to live a long time.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm going to have to look into that. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time. I know we mix up our times a little bit, so next time we'll make sure that we're in the right time zone. Thank you so much for coming on. This was incredible. I could seriously just listen to you talk all day about this stuff. This is so intriguing. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your time with us, Robert.
Okay, thank you, Brett.
How was that podcast? It's pretty good, right? I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I'm super glad that you guys are here. I'm very grateful that you guys are here. We are putting our all into this content. Me, Alex, Eric, everyone at the Self Love Fitness Project, we're putting our heart and our soul into this company, into this community, and we're just so happy that you're along for the ride. And we are just, we're very grateful for you. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you at the next one. Drop a comment, drop a like, please support us, we really appreciate it, and I will see you guys on the next episode. See you there.